Warning: the following story contains several scenes of depicting violent acts against women, including a sexual assault. Viewer discretion is advised.
Though he was already a well-regarded writer, recognized by the Mystery Writers Association of America as a grandmaster, Donald Westlake managed to achieve icon status when he began a series of novels under the pseudonym of Richard Stark.
Where Westlake was more known for humorous action-adventure capers, his work under the name of Richard Stark took a more hard-boiled and gritty route. Stark's characters were more in the vein of Raymond Chandler or Mickey Spillane, those characters that tend to avoid the fine line of good and evil and just focused on their own needs.
Stark's most enduring character is a vicious, unforgiving thief known simply as Parker. Parker lives by one credo: I won't double-cross you if you don't double-cross me. Those who have turned on Parker are often the recipients of a merciless, vitriolic form of revenge.
Debuting in the 1962 novel The Hunter, Parker proved to be an enduring literary figure. This resulted in numerous adaptations beginning in 1966 with Jean-Luc Godard's Made in USA and continuing through the years with the likes of The Split starring Jim Brown, The Outfits starring Robert Duvall and Joe Don Baker, Slayground starring Peter Coyote, and 2013's Parker starring Jason Statham and Jennifer Lopez.
The first Parker novel, The Hunter, was actually adapted twice for theatrical release. The first came in the movie Point Blank in 1967. This starred Lee Marvin as Parker, though he had been renamed Walker. Then in 1999 there was the movie Payback, which starred Mel Gibson as Parker, though he had been renamed Porter. Apparently Westlake did not approve to any of the changes to the script, so yeah, he would not allow them to use the name Parker, instead having the name change.
In 2009, writer-artist Darwyn Cooke announced that he would be adapting the Parker novels into comic form for IDW Publishing. Cooke was best known for his run on Catwoman, his DC miniseries The New Frontier, which was a love letter to the comic publisher Silver Age, and for animating the opening title sequence to Batman Beyond. Cooke managed to obtain Westlake's blessing before the writer's passing in 2008.
Cooke originally intended to adapt 5 of the Parker novels, with the possibility of more being released should they prove to be successful. However, Cooke himself would sadly pass away in 2016 after only adapting 4 of the books. Still, we can enjoy what we have so far, so let's take a look at Richard Stark's Parker, Volume 1 by Darwyn Cooke.
New York City, 1962. Parker walks into town turning down an offer of a ride. After hopping a subway turnstile and getting a cup of joe from a diner, he makes his way to the Department of Motor Vehicles, where the lax security allows Parker to swipe a blank driver's license. He forges the identity of Edward Johnson and begins hitting up several banks until locating one that has an Edward Johnson as a client.
Obviously, this stuff was a little bit easier to get away with in 1962. I mean, driver's licenses didn't even have pictures on them back then.
Parker makes his way through Times Square, getting a new suit, a steak dinner, and some peppermint schnapps to drown his sorrows in a hotel room. He doesn't really sleep well and eventually decides to leave the lodging to head over to a woman's apartment. She's caught completely off guard as he forces his way by her and begins looking for a man named Mel Resnick.
The woman here is Parker's estranged wife, Lynn. We'll delve a little bit into their backstory later.
Lynn says that she hasn't seen Mal in over 3 months, but admits that he does pay the rent on the apartment via an underling. Lynn admits that she's been so racked with guilt to the point that she needs barbiturates to sleep. Lynn attempts seducing Parker, but he isn't having any of it and just chooses to crash on the couch. When he wakes up the next morning, he finds that she's overdosed on sleeping pills. He dresses her up and then waits for nightfall. He then takes her to Central Park and mutilates the body in some bushes to hide it. From there, it's back to the apartment to wait for the rent. When the underling arrives 3 days later, Parker jumps him. The underling doesn't know anything about a Mel Resnick, as he works for a man named Arthur Stegman. Parker acquires the location of Stegman's business, an auto dealership, and then takes the rent money. As he leaves the building, Parker notices that the police have found Lynn's body in the bushes and are both vomiting. Parker makes it to Stegman's dealership and barges in on a poker game and causes enough of a ruckus that Stegman decides to take him out to a private place. He won't give up Mel Resnick's location, as it's completely unknown to him. Resnick only communicates via phone, and the rent is withdrawn via a third-party bank account. The only thing Stegman will say is that Mel is in New York City. This does give Parker enough information, but he tells Stegman to leave Mel alone and not contact him in any way or mention any of this.
So what exactly is the story here? Well, Mal Resnick was the middle management member of a crime syndicate called the Outfit, who mucked up a drug deal and cost the group $40,000. In order to pay off the debt, Resnick and a man named Chester hired Parker to work an angle where they robbed a group of South American rebels who were running guns from Canada.
Parker hired two thieves he had worked with before named Ryan and Sil. The group, including Lynn, then set up shop in the abandoned island home of a Hollywood starlet. From there, they broke up the deal, making out with about $80,000, and as the group celebrated, Parker and Lynn slipped away for some super happy fun time. It's then that the double cross happened as Lynn pulled out a gun and shot her husband. Parker awoke to find Chester, Ryan, and Sil dead and the house on fire. He then stumbled out of the home and collapsed in some bushes. It was there that the police found him and arrested him for vagrancy. Parker then spent the next 3 months in prison before escaping.
Now back to the main story.
Mal Resnick is holed up in the Oakwood Hotel. Stegman has broken his promise to Parker and ratted him out anyway. Mal tries to calm his nerves with the girls from the Armed Candy Escort Service, but he can't trust her and sucker punches the young lady when she arrives. Mal goes to his higher-up, Frederick Carter, no relation. Carter is an investment banker, aka money launderer. Mal explains the situation to Carter, who agrees to protect him by transferring him to another hotel. However, Mal just can't seem to go without companionship and calls Irma, the head of the escort service. It's going to cost him as, one, the girl from earlier is still upset, and two, he's actually been holding back on several of his payments. Still, he promises even more money, and the deal goes through. He then arranges to hire some muscle via two Irish enforcers as the girl arrives. Unfortunately, it provides little comfort, as Mal is still at ease later that night when he remembers what caused all of this.
Basically, Mal Resnick managed to convince Ryan that Parker and Sil were going to turn on him and that Chester was behind everything. Mal managed to kill Chester while Ryan killed Sil. Mal was also secretly in love with Lynn Parker and convinced her to turn on her husband at the possible cost of her own life. After her betrayal, Mal killed Ryan and made off with Lynn.
However, Lynn was an unwilling mistress and refused to fully comply to Mal's demands, even when he attempted to sexually assault her. Eventually, he let her go, though continued to financially support her silence. It's then that Mal wakes up to the sight of Parker climbing through the hotel window.
Maybe Mal should have waited for those Irish enforcers to arrive before hiring the prostitute. Anyway, how exactly did Parker learn Mal's location? Well, let's find out.
Parker knew that Mal was part of the outfit and began using several contacts within the organization. He finally hits on one named Rose, though he knows her as Wanda, who coincidentally is part of the escort service that Mal has been frequently using. Rose directed Parker to the Oakwood. Parker tried to case out the Oakwood by going to a beauty shop located at the top floor of a building across the street from the hotel. He knocked out the woman in charge and bound and gagged her as he spied across the way. Unfortunately, it turned out the woman was asthmatic, and the gag caused her to suffocate to death.
Don't forget, Parker may be the protagonist of this story, but he is not a good person at all. I mean, I don't even think the term anti-hero really applies here, as those types of characters tend to have redeemable qualities.
Parker eventually realized that Mal wasn't at the Oakwood and returned to Wanda/Rose. She denied any misdirect as he began torturing her. She eventually gave in and called Irma to get the new location of Mal Resnick.
Again, Parker is not a good person.
Once inside Mal's hotel room, Parker knocks a gun away from his target but allows the girl to leave unharmed. Parker wants one thing and one thing only, his promised share from the job they pulled, which is about $45,000. Of course, all the money went to pay off the outfit, so Mal directs Parker to Carter as Parker strangles Mal to death.
Boy, that Irish muscle Mal hired really didn't pay off at all, did it?
Parker still needs to reclaim his money, so he literally marches into Frederick Carter's office and demands a meeting. When the investment banker goes for a gun, Parker matches the move and empties both firearms. Parker just wants one thing, his rightfully earned $45,000. Even though that's a paltry amount to the outfit, the money is still theirs. Parker isn't going to take this denial lying down, so he begins laying the intimidation on real thick to convince Carter to call his boss, a man named Bronson. Bronson turns down the request as well, so Parker kills Carter. Realizing that Parker can now easily track down his location, Bronson acquiesces and arranges for a drop. Still, Parker decides to acquire further leverage by going after Carter's partner, a man named Fairfax. He threatens to have his thieving buddies case out several of the casinos that the outfit has been operating. Bronson promises to follow through on the drop at a nearby train station. Carter then pays a visit to Stegman, who he knows ratted him out, and kills him, then steals a car from the dealership. Of course, this does turn out to be a trap, as Parker spots several operatives wandering around the train station. He begins taking them out and eventually gets the real cash drop. When they pursue him, he gives them the slip of the train yard and makes it to his hidden vehicle. Once inside, Parker speeds away. First, he needs to find a plastic surgeon, and then it's off to Florida.
And that concludes our look at Richard Stark's Parker, Volume 1, The Hunter, by Darwyn Cooke. How was it? Well, there's not enough compliments in the world to describe Darwyn Cooke's artwork. It is so immaculate and just so well done, and does a great job of getting that noirish, grimy crime feel to it. So, yeah, that's an obvious compliment right there. And I'd say overall there's some really good characterization through all this. All the characters come across as believable and just, again, grimy and scummy and not very good. Again, there are really no redeemable characters at all in these things. So, again, that seems very spot on. And, there's some pretty good, straightforward narrative storytelling. That being said, unfortunately, I think the pacing of the book is just a little off. There's way too many flashbacks in this. Maybe do the whole Parker gets betrayed by everyone at the beginning of the book, and then do the flashback to what really happened later on. I think that would have worked a lot better. Instead, it just bogs down the pacing, making parts feel way too slow and then way too fast and then way too slow again. It makes it feel a little uneven. Not to mention there's a few too many silent panels in here. Maybe that's a little nitpicky, but I think some inner monologue would have helped carry things out a little bit more. Again, it led to a very uneven pacing feel within this story. And last but not least, there's kind of a whole glaring plot hole, I should say. I mentioned the Irish muscle joke there. Literally, the book is broken up to 4 chapters, and the second chapter ends with Mal coming in through the window, and then this caption coming up saying, well, he's going to get jumped, and then he doesn't get jumped, so what happened? It just seems a little too glaring there. If you eliminate that caption, I don't think it's nearly as bad, but just that little bit really throws the whole thing off and sticks in my craw. Still, this is pretty enjoyable, especially if you like hard-boiled crime fiction. So I'm going to give Richard Stark's Parker, the Hunter, a B. And with that, let's see what we'll be doing next time on the Random Trade Review.
Remember, you can help support my channel at patreon.com/sleepytimeforcatproductions. There, you can request a trade to be put in the randomizer, aka the cardboard box. Also, remember, like, comment, share, subscribe, and ring that notification bell.